It's a pleasure that I welcome everyone to Celebrating Teachers, BEF's annual event where we honor and celebrate Brookline's exceptional educators. My name is Kim Barnum, and I am the Executive Director of the Brookline Education Foundation. Thank you. Celebrating Teachers is one of the highlights of our year. When we, the Brookline community, can show public appreciation and thanks for the important work that happens every day in Brookline classrooms. To all of our educators here today, we warmly welcome you. I want to welcome the administrators, parents, students who are here this afternoon. Welcome. I'd also like to thank our generous donors and others from the Brookline community who have joined us today. I would like to acknowledge all the past Caverly winners who are in the room, and could you please stand so that we can acknowledge you? Amazing. The program is going to shift a little bit. You'll notice if you have not gotten a program yet, they are in the back of the room, so please get a program. I'd like to welcome, if there are any members of the school committee or other elected officials, I'd like you to please stand so that we can all thank you for your time, energy, and service to helping Brookline remain committed to education. If you are an administrator, school committee, thank you. I saw an administrator, a little thank you there, okay. The work of the BEF would not be possible without the tremendous efforts of the members of the board of directors and the advisory board. I'd like to ask all current board members and members of the advisory board who are here to stand and be acknowledged. If you are an advisory board member or a current board members, I see you. You are here. These are the folks that do the fundraising and read your grants and come and visit your schools and are your biggest cheerleaders and fans. I also want to acknowledge our Associate Director, Jenny Rothman, for the amazing work she's done in helping to arrange today's celebration and her work throughout the year for all of us. I want to thank our board president, Jen Rothstein, who will be completing her second year as president of the board and has been so supportive of me in my first year as ED and doing a tremendous job leading our organization. Thank you, Jenny and Jen. Brookline educators have a passion for teaching and a curiosity for the world beyond their classroom. They're committed to inspiring and challenging learners. And as their fans, all of us in this room, we know they possess a lifelong love of learning. The BEF's grant-making approach uplifts, supports, and facilitates the pursuit of those aspirations. All of our grants are teacher-driven, meaning that teachers, as the professionals, know what they need and want. These dedicated practitioners write their own proposals and have received funding. The BEF Idea Lab grant provides support for experimenting with creative and innovative ideas in the classroom with an emphasis on hands-on, classroom-based experiential learning. Teacher grants provide opportunities for teachers to deepen their knowledge in their field of expertise, explore new areas of growth and professional development and renewal. Collaborative grants promote cooperative efforts across disciplines, across grade levels, and across schools. System-wide grants provide opportunities for innovative thinking around issues that impact the entire system. I'm going to pause here. We're going to do a little bit of a programming change because we have joined us Dr. Linus Guillory, Superintendent of Schools, who we would like to bring forward. Dr. Guillory, come on up, and he's going to say a few words, and then we will go back to programming.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with you. On behalf of the Public Schools of Brookline, I want to say thank you to the BEF for your outstanding support of our staff, faculty and staff, not only with the Caverly Award winners, but also your outstanding support through the granting program. And huge shout out to our two awardees tonight. I can't wait to hear what you have to say that's inspiring to all of us, as well as seeing the impact that I had the great fortune of being there when the awards were presented, and just the impact that the students felt and experienced. That's something that I'll never forget. So on behalf of the Public Schools of Brookline, it's great to be here with you tonight, and I look forward to hearing your messages. Thank you.
So you've heard about some of our grants that we provide. So it's my pleasure to introduce Laura Paris, Chair of the Idea Lab Grants Committee, Diane Picorni-Wilson, Chair of the Teacher Grant Committee, and Lena Mattel, Chair of the Collaborative Grants Committee, who will introduce this year's grant recipients. And we'll start with Laura.
Good afternoon. I am pleased to announce BEF Idea Lab grants that were awarded in the fall of this school year. On behalf of the BEF, I want to say thank you to the many members of our grants committees, and a special thanks to Michelle Herman and Gabe McCormick for all of their work in assisting our grant committees. First, we would like to acknowledge our 13 Idea Lab recipients. After I read all of our Idea Lab grants recipients, I will ask you to stand to be acknowledged. Amanda Baranowski, Susan Liepman, Jessie Carson, Deborah Levine from Pierce School, Andrea Schutler from Beep, Anne-Marie Mazzocchi from Driscoll, Daniel Lipton, Ruffin Ridley, Emily Manning Mingle, Ruffin Ridley, Gwen Vitti, Pierce and Baker, Jenny Yee Malaguti, Pierce, Kylan Bixby, Sarah Zikri, Katie Wang, Baker, Jill Arnold, Pierce, Megan Monahan, Lawrence, Molly Goff, Laura Sheeman, Jocelyn Hess, Beep, Molly Wallner, BHS, and Roger Grande, BHS. Could you all stand up to be acknowledged, please? Congratulations to our Idea Lab grant recipients. Now I would like to introduce Diane Picorni-Wilson, Chair of Teacher Grants Committee.
Good afternoon. This year, the BEF has awarded 26 teacher grants totaling over 81,000 and directly involving more than 38 educators. Again, I'll announce the grants and then ask you to all stand together to be recognized. And I apologize if I butcher any names. Kate Lenahan and Dina Shea, Collaboration, Connection, and Learning at the 2025 NIAC Conference. Janet Kelly, Recognizing Excellence in Art and Literary Magazines. Cora Finley and the Occupational Therapy and Physical Therapy Departments, Staying Current on the Latest Evidence. Marissa Drosas, Language-Based Learning Disabilities, Professional Development, and Skill Building. Megan Birdie Kaufman, Renaissance to Contemporary Art in Florence. Jennifer Jordan, Tiling Patterns in Spain. Laura Zentek, Writing for Renewal and Development. Matt Picard, Pushing Your Limits and Climbing to New Heights. Emma Saver, Taiwan Travels, An Immersive Understanding of East Asian Culture. Elisa Connor, Designing and Facilitating Reflective Structured Dialogue Training. Elizabeth Brennan, Exploring San Francisco Museum and National Parks. Basha Goldstein-Weiss, Ceramics Workshop at Putney Summer Program. Rachel Wolf, Professional Development Conference. Julie Young, Nicole Muldowney, Matthew Kindred Schiff, and Aaron Weber, ABA Across Oceans, Bringing Global Best Practices Home. Amanda Hawkinsmith, Mies Bowett, Ellen Mills, and Asa Sevelius, Meditation Retreat. Kevin Whitehead, A Walk in Their Shoes, Intensive Beginning French Lessons. Jennifer Hannigan, Portugal and the Azores, A Journey Exploring Migration and Agricultural History. Emily Arpey, Orton Gillingham Plus Training to Enhance Learning Center and Phonics Instruction. Shoshana Costant, Julie Paget, and Lisa Rodriguez, Exploring Mathematical Innovation, A Culture and Educational Journey for Math Teachers in Greece. Mark Wheeler, Working Toward a Healthier Community. Katerina DePina and Dana DeIngenius, Reclaiming Positive Behavioral Vibes. Elise Terry, The Foundations of Greece. Chima Ikone, From Paris to Pastry, A Teacher's Journey into French Baking Mastery. Nicole Wiggins, Comprehensive Orton Gillingham Plus course. Sophie Gorlin and Nick Rothstein, APA Summer Institute for AP Language and Composition. Lauren Brooks and Sarah Stanton, Responsive Classroom Training courses. Would our teacher grant recipients please stand? Congratulations. And next up, we have Lena for collaborative.
So we have awarded 10 collaborative grants totaling over $78,000 and directly impacting more than 50 educators. Again, I'll announce the grants and then ask our recipients to be acknowledged together. Our collaborative grants are the 2025 Wilson Reading Conference, lead applicant Laura London. The Orton Gillingham Conference, lead applicants Rena Schultz, Melanie Christo, and Sydney Shapiro. The WIDA Annual Conference, lead applicant Amy Ostroff. Integrating mindfulness practices into elementary and middle school classrooms, lead applicant Laura Smid and Shannon Egna. BHS Warriors Against Misinformation, WHAM, workshop on teaching information literacy, lead applicant Shelley Maines. Self-determination and independent skills training, lead applicants Bridget Baird Franciscone, Jenna Murray, Tova Bogdanoff, Rachel Keegan McGlynn, Daniel O'Brien, and Brian Ake. 2024 National Art Education Association National Convention, lead applicant Emily Manning Mingle. AI as an instructional tool across the curriculum, lead applicants Brian Poon, Ben Berman, and Evan Musso. Teachers as Scholars Collaborative Grant, lead applicant John Andrews. Innovative Schools Summit Conference, lead applicants Jennifer Hardy, Cassandra Perkowski, Asa Sevelius, and Carolyn Magnanti. Would all leaders and participants in the collaborative grants please stand? Congratulations. And then next, I think we have Gavin coming up. Are you gonna, sorry.
So I'd like to introduce Gavin Andrews, who will come and talk about our additional awards. And also a board member.
And a former Pierce parent, so to see so many awards here for Pierce teachers, I'm not biased, but congratulations. Okay, so I have a few grants that I'm going to talk about. So in addition to these wonderful learning grants that the BEF awards each year, we also have a series of other awards that honor all types of teacher leadership and recognizes educators in our districts in a variety of ways. So the first one I'm going to share is the Gelfand Award announcement. This award was created to honor the memory of Adam Russell Gelfand, a Baker School student who passed away while he was in 5th grade. Adam's parents established the award to honor and recognize many teachers who were so important to Adam during his life. So on behalf of the Brookline Education Foundation, I'm honored to announce the recipient of the 2025 Adam Russell Gelfand Fellowship, Elise Terry, a middle school social studies teacher at the Hayes School. She will travel to Greece and Turkey to research ancient people and places that feature in her curriculum. Elise, are you here, and would you stand to be recognized? If not, we will still clap for you. Congratulations. Next is the Charlie Baker Legacy Award announcement. This award was created by a generous donor in 2008 to honor Mr. Baker for, quote, extraordinary service in time of need. This annual award provides additional funding to a BEF grant recipient for continuing education, travel, program development, or other similar pursuits in the areas of U.S. history and/or world geography. The 2025 Charlie Baker Legacy Award is presented to Shoshana Costin, Julie Paget, and Lisa Rodriguez, BHS math teachers. They will travel also to Greece. There's a lot of Greece travel, but to Greece and Crete, skipping Turkey, to explore the historical underpinnings of math education, researching a potential future student trip to the region. Would you three please stand to be recognized? Congratulations. So next, we have the David E. Pradell Award announcement. And so for the 5th year, the BEF is giving this award to an outstanding middle school teacher in memory of beloved middle school teacher at Driscoll, David E. Pradell. This award is presented to a teacher of middle school students whose work stimulates students' imagination and curiosity, helps students develop self-assurance and self-esteem, encourages student collaboration, and/or instills an abiding sense of social responsibility. This year, we are happy to announce that the David E. Pradell Award is presented to Driscoll Middle School math teacher, Jennifer Jordan. She will travel to Spain to explore tiling patterns and the connections among art, math, and architecture. Congratulations. Jennifer, are you here? These are incredible. Okay, so next we have the Margaret Metzger Fellowship Awards. Every summer, the BEF funds 6 teachers who work together in a workshop format to write about their experiences in the classroom as Margaret Metzger Fellows. Margaret Metzger taught English at Brookline High School for over 40 years before her passing in 2013. She influenced thousands of students and educators through her teaching, writing, and mentoring. These fellows continue Margaret Metzger's work. They're thinking about the classroom, writing about teaching, and furthering the art of educating young people. We are so thrilled to announce the latest class of Metzger Fellows. Sarah Hassey, Runkle 3rd grade teacher, Kevin Wong, BHS ELA teacher, Kevin McKenzie, Lawrence Middle School social studies teacher, Meredith Ritter, Baker art teacher, Marissa Drosos, BHS ELA teacher, and Erica O'Mahony, BHS Spanish teacher. So in October, there will be a special public celebration of the fellows where they will present their work and their writing from the summer. Save the date. You'll certainly get lots of messages from us, but it's October 9th if you want to pencil it in now. You can also read more about these awards and more about all of the grant recipients that we've talked about on our website. But in the meantime, if we have any Metzger fellows here, we'd love for you to stand so we can recognize you. Congratulations, everyone, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kim for Caverly.
And now for the Caverly Awards. In 1984, the BEF created the Ernest R. Caverly Award to recognize Brookline educators who have made outstanding contributions to excellence in education. The award is named after Dr. David Caverly, Ernest Caverly, a distinguished public school leader, educator, and Brookline school superintendent. Each year, the BEF asks educators in Brookline to nominate fellow colleagues for this award. The BEF convenes a special committee composed of BEF board members and prior Caverly Award winners to consider the wonderfully descriptive and inspiring letters submitted in support of each nominee by colleagues, parents, and former students. On behalf of the Brookline Education Foundation, we are delighted to announce this year's Caverly Award winners. So the first one that I will be introducing is a personal friend, Amanda Kretschmar. Amanda is the librarian extraordinaire at the Pierce School. The committee was captivated by the description of the work Amanda does with and for the Pierce School community. As told by members of that community, at this time I'd like to share with you some of those descriptors. This is the first one. There's no more passionate reader who excites the students with her stories while she's reading the stories of others. Her energy and expertise are unparalleled, yet she is humble with her craft and always engaged in experiences to foster her learning. She organizes school-wide campaigns for various book competitions like the Caldecott, Prince, and Newbery Awards, along with others. And mind you, she's doing this in 2 separate buildings, not just one. Creating engaging visual and oral presentation that make kids excited to read multiple books on her recommendation. Another person wrote, "She makes stories fun and was the reason I started reading novels. Without her, I wouldn't have read classics like A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, because she got me to read good books and find my sense of self in them." I'm not done. Not only does she curate diverse and thoughtful displays of books for our school community, she works tirelessly to uplift the stories of historically marginalized communities in ways that interrupt stereotypes and biases, as well as build empathy, and she does it joyfully. I see a lot of nods. And finally, Amanda has the ability to get most challenging students excited about reading. If that doesn't define a skillful librarian, I don't know what does. It is my pleasure to introduce Jem Stoddard, Vice Principal, maybe, I don't know, Vice Principal of the Pierce School, who will share some thoughts about Amanda.
We really want to hear Amanda, but I was asked to say a couple words. I have always maintained that the library is the heart of any school. This was perhaps no better realized than at the now former Pierce School. Our library was in the center of our massive Unit A, which at Pierce is more than a BEU bargaining unit. spanning 3 different levels with a vast array of brightly colored stairwells and hallways leading students into and out of the world of books, the land of Ms. Kretschmar. Over the course of the years, the expanse of our heart contracted dramatically from 3 levels to 2 levels to 1 level, but it kept beating proudly. And then, if that wasn't enough, with the building's demolition and our relocation, our heart was, well, broken in 2, and then transplanted to 2 new locations, about a couple miles apart. One would think a vital organ cannot withstand such punishment. But thanks to Amanda Kretschmar and her monumental efforts, to paraphrase Celine Dion, you know where I'm going, our heart does indeed go on. It's another paragraph, so it's still under 2 minutes, I timed it. Amanda embodies what it means to be a true educator. She exudes passion for reading and for learning. She seeks to deeply know all of our students and find books that will not only resonate with each of them, but also open up new worlds to each of them as well. She collaborates eagerly and thoughtfully with teachers throughout our K-8 school and is a trusted adult for students and staff alike. We need more librarians in this world, and we need more Amanda Kretschmars as well. We are so fortunate to have her at the mighty Pierce and here in Brookline. Our colleague, our friend, our inspiration, our heart. Amanda Kretschmar.
Oh my goodness, I'm already crying. Okay, I'm doing this. Okay, thank you, Jim. That was really lovely. And thank you, Brookline Education Foundation, and my wonderful and inspiring Pierce colleagues, Marley, Stephanie, Sandy. I still cannot believe you made this happen and kept it all a secret. I am so honored by this award. I truly don't think I deserve it any more than the amazing colleagues I have had the privilege of working with every day, both at Pierce and in my library department. But I humbly accept it on behalf of every teacher who has ever had a moment of questioning every life decision they ever made to get there. I love teaching, but it is hard. No matter how much you give, it often feels like there's not enough. It's not enough. This has been one of the more challenging years of my life, both personally and professionally, to say the least. There were days when I truly found it hard to smile, which, for anyone who knows me, says a lot. With the Pierce move and demolition, the setting up and running of 2 libraries in 2 different buildings, none of which went smoothly, the forever looming budget cuts, and the world on fire, it felt like I hardly had anything left to give. And yet, as many of my amazing colleagues will tell you, we teachers just keep showing up, acting as if, trying to bring our best selves and hoping it is enough, that we are enough for our students every day. I've been thinking a lot about education lately, as many of you know. Maybe this is what every teacher does after almost 27 years of doing the work. Maybe it's because I'm watching my own daughters experience public schools for themselves. Maybe because it's what I'm hearing constantly in the media about failing teachers, failing curriculum, and failing schools. What is the point of it all? Why do we do what we do? Although the answer may be a bit different for each of us, I think it probably rings true for most that we know what we do as teachers matters. Regardless of test scores and data and imperfect curriculum and endless emails, the magic that happens in our classrooms and schools every day matters, and that sometimes what matters most cannot be measured, relationships, connections, joy, and love. I believe in the power of stories. As scholar and author Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop wrote back in 1990 in her essay, Mirrors, Windows, and Sliding Glass Doors, books are sometimes windows, offering views of worlds that may be real or imagined, familiar or strange. These windows are also sliding glass doors, and readers have only to walk through in imagination to become part of whatever world has been created or recreated by the author. When lighting conditions are just right, however, a window can also be a mirror. Literature transforms human experience and reflects it back to us. And in that reflection, we see our own lives and experiences as part of a larger human experience. Stories grow our hearts and expand our thinking. Stories make us question and look for answers. Stories help us dream and give us hope, even in our darkest moments. It is this belief in the power of stories that keeps me going. My story as an educator began back in high school when I decided that teaching was the way to make the world a better place. At Miami Beach Senior High, a public school of nearly 4,000 students, I had some magically inspiring teachers who didn't just teach their subjects, but were able to pull us in as students, see us each as unique individuals with limitless potential, make us think and want and do more than we ever thought possible. I also had some less than inspiring teachers and some downright awful teachers who had no business working in schools. I witnessed firsthand how adults could cause harm to children, even without meaning to. And I witnessed the many inequities of our systems. I became determined to be instrumental in changing them. I attended Boston University's early childhood program, run by the legendary Dr. Shickadance at the time, where I learned how to write curriculum that didn't just engage students, but ignited their sense of wonder. I was prepared in that program to walk into a classroom with nothing and still be able to teach. We were taught to teach everything through science, units on simple machines and frogs and toads sound. Once students were engaged, everything could be taught. After completing my student teaching at Ruffin Ridley, then called Devotion School, and graduating, I moved back home to Miami, Florida to start my career. I was 22 and wide-eyed and dreamy and basically forgot everything I was taught to do that first day. Typical, right? I was covering for a maternity leave in a kindergarten class with 35 students. Yes, you heard me correctly, 35. Needless to say, I've blocked out most of what happened that first day. But I do remember coming home to my parents' house that very afternoon with 10 bags of curriculum I was supposed to make sense of and collapsing on my parents' floor and saying, I can't go back there, I cannot do this job, I have to quit. I remember my father asking me, did you have to call 911? To which I replied, no, and he smiled and said, then it was a good first day teaching. I think his expectations might have been a little low, but it did make me smile, and I showed up the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. It got better eventually, I promise. Teaching in Miami-Dade County in the early 2000s was definitely an eye-opening experience. After everything I had learned as a student teacher in Brookline, you can imagine my surprise when I was handed a scripted curriculum. It was amazing to me how quickly one can take the fun and joy right out of teaching and learning. And yet, as all teachers do, I tried to make it work the best I could. Testing was everything at that time. I worked in a school that had a class of third grade students who had not made grade level expectations on our state test, which meant that they automatically had to repeat that grade. This particular class was repeating third grade for the third year in a row. At which point, they would be passed on to sixth grade regardless of their test scores that year. Just another example of how our children are not failing, but rather our systems are failing our children. My story took a curve when I accidentally became a school librarian. That same principal that hired me to teach kindergarten put me in the library by promising me my own classroom the following year. I remember thinking, I love books, but I'm too loud for the library. I had no idea how much librarians had changed, or libraries had changed since I was a kid. The library was my ideal classroom, a place where I had freedom to create curriculum, support teachers in the classroom, work with students through their years at our school, and share the power of stories. I realized that school libraries could be magical, wondrous, safe spaces for everyone in the school community, literally the heart of our schools. My story came full circle when I moved back to Boston with my husband and saw the opening for a school librarian in Brookline. Pierce was like no school I had ever worked at before. Not because it didn't have walls, although that was definitely a factor, but because teachers spent their entire careers working there. Students who had graduated came back to work in the building, and almost everyone felt like I did about the importance of our profession. From the moment I started at Pierce, I felt like I was part of something bigger. A community that valued those things that can't always be measured: relationships, connections, and joy. A community that taught by modeling what we want to see in the world. After only 1 year at Pierce, I felt like I'd been there for 5. And then 15 years later, after 2 babies, I think about 5 principals and 4 superintendents, it is this community, my Pierce people, who have kept me there. Marley Gonsalves and Stephanie Goodman. Your ability to bring joy to everything you do is amazing. I think I had 1 foot out the door when you started at Pierce, but you reminded me how much fun teaching and collaborating can be. Developing programs with you like the Mock Newberry and the Pierce Prince, programs that get students reading and valuing the power of stories, has been such a joy and privilege for me. Your fierce care for our students and their stories, and your thoughtfulness about what and how you teach, and your ability to make big things happen is astounding. This really can be said of the entire middle school team. I mean, you are the best in the state. And OLS, our K-5 crew, you're a part of that honor as well. As much as I hate being divided in 2 schools, I feel thankful I wasn't forced to choose. My heart forever remains where it all began. Sandy Sicard, my partner in crime, my wise and encouraging friend with a heart of gold. The library may have been the heart of Pierce, but you are the backbone. You model true collaboration with teachers and are willing to drop everything to help support all of us every day. Every time I think I'm tapped out and have nothing else to give, you inspire me to say yes. Yes to writing BEF grants and making things like that Lego wall happen. Yes to joining the Pierce Equity Action Team. And yes to all of the other trainings and leadership roles I might have quietly backed out of if it hadn't been for you. David Weinstein, who as a first grade teacher promised me he would come help me in the library when he retired, which of course I thought would never happen since he doesn't age. And then he did retire and has shown up 3 days a week just to shelve the thousands of books we circulate each month. So much shelving, he had to wear wrist braces at one point. You exemplify everything I love about Pierce. Your wit, your wisdom. You're like the Yoda of Pierce, always helping us to hold down the fort, quite literally, by still fixing our laminators. And reminding us what matters most: laughter, and of course, our students. I mean, he still sends birthday cards to every student he ever taught. How is that even possible when I can't even get a card in the mail to my mom for her birthday? And the legendary Kim Barnum, the kind of educator we all strive to be, who may have retired from the classroom, but continues changing the world through her work with teachers. Thank you. Dominique and Jenny, my dear friends and co-conspirators, thank you for always reminding me of my purpose and for making me smile. You have made me a better teacher and person by pushing me outside of my comfort zone. Our work diversifying our library and classroom collections and developing projects like our design of stories and our endless conversations about life and teaching have reminded me why I became a teacher in the first place. I could go on listing the names of the teachers who have inspired me through my years at Pierce. How much time do I have? But there are too many of you to name. You all know who you are because of the love and the laughter and the tears and the joy that we share together. One of the best things about being a librarian is that I get to work with everyone. Every teacher, every student, every staff member, and every family. This gives me a great view of our community at Pierce, our beautiful, diverse, imperfect, but always learning microcosm. Just know you have each been a part of my story. You exemplify the best of humanity with your dedication to our students. Thank you for all you do. And of course, my team of librarians. What would I do without you? Through the years, our team has been told time and again that we are expendable, that what we do doesn't matter. But everyone in this room knows it does. There is a reason librarians across the country are receiving death threats and books are being banned. Stories have power, and we are on the front line. You have taught me that my job isn't just selling reading and getting students excited about books, although I really love that, but rather getting students to think more deeply about the story, who is telling it and why, to ask questions and to think critically about their search for answers. So many of my most successful lessons and best practices have been inspired by you. My story would not be so positive if it hadn't been for the amazing school leaders I've had the privilege of working with, leaders who did everything in their power just to let teachers teach, leaders who value the things that cannot be measured, relationships, connections, joy, leaders who trust teachers. Dr. Piper Smith-Mumford, Leslie Ryan Miller, and Jamie Yadoff, Jim Stoddard, and John Badger, who is so missed at Pierce. School administrators who treat teachers like the professionals we are. When I first started at Pierce, I kept asking Dr. Smith-Mumford for permission to leave campus, to go to a meeting, to pick up some forgotten supplies for a class, to grab a cup of coffee since I'd been up all night with a crying baby. She finally had to tell me to stop asking for permission, like I had to do in all of the Florida schools I worked in. She expected me to be the professional that I am, and I was encouraged to do anything I needed to do, and I was encouraged to do anything I needed to do to show up on time as my best self for students. She trusted me. That trust made me want to work harder and do more for everyone at Pierce. These school leaders believed in and supported teachers in finding that elusive work-life balance, which meant the world to me as I started my own family. Which brings me to the best part of my story, my family. My mom and dad, my first teachers who knew that once I decided teaching was the way I was going to make the world a better place, were in full support of my every move. They taught me that while I might have been the center of their universe, I was definitely not the center of anyone else's. My amazing older sister and brother, Paige and Kevin, made sure I knew that too. My parents taught me to look at the world through a lens of curiosity and to value everyone's story as much as my own. And while they may have secretly dreamed of having all three of their kids working at the family business, they also learned very quickly that the only thing I'm good at selling is books. My two amazing daughters, Leela and Stella, who have helped me to find balance in my life. I may very well have burned out years ago had it not been for you keeping me busy with the joys of parenthood. You both amaze me with your kind hearts and your brilliant minds. Watching you grow, your curiosity and wonder, your love of stories, your struggles and triumphs has been and continues to be such a privilege. I'm so lucky to be your mom. Thank you for always reminding me of all that is good in the world. And Eric, my wonderful husband, my best friend, who has continued to keep me laughing and smiling and still listens to my crazy work stories after all these years. You make me a better teacher, by keeping me grounded and reminding me to have a life outside of work and to occasionally put my book down to make my own stories. It is because of you that I'm able to show up every day at Pierce and do my best to support students and teachers. And so, my story continues. No end in sight. When the team showed up during my second grade class to surprise me with this unbelievable honor, I honestly thought they were coming to tell me that there was an issue with the new building and there wasn't going to be enough money for the library. Or that they had decided to cut the entire library department again. I know that sounds crazy, but this is the trauma that lingers when systems make decisions based on numbers. Numbers that only tell part of the story and often leave out the most important parts. What teachers do matters. Every single member of our school community matters. The relationships we nurture, the dreams we inspire, the connections we make, and the stories we tell, it all matters. Even if the systems don't value it, even if the data doesn't show it, even if the curriculum leaves it out, and even if it's not measured on a test or in a survey, it all matters. Kindness, love, compassion, empathy, imagination, creativity, all of the things I value most as an educator and as a human matter. These are the things that create a better world and therefore matter the most. Thank you, BEF, for seeing the value in these things as well, and for providing teachers with the opportunities to connect and dream and foster a love of learning and teaching. I hope that someday the systems of our society will value these things as much as we do. Until then, we can continue to hope and use the power of our stories to connect, unite, inspire, and dream. Earlier this year, I read Nikki Giovanni, the great Nikki Giovanni's beautiful book, A Library, to a class of first grade students. I was tempted to read it to you all too, but I won't. But it's all about the power of libraries. We discussed how libraries are more than just rooms that hold books, and each one of my first grade students wrote what a library means to them. So I leave you with this first grade student's lovely thought that fills my heart and reminds me of why I do the work every day. On this little Post-it, she wrote, "A place where dreams come true." Thank you. She did spell it come true, too. It's so cute.
I have something for you. Don't leave just yet.
Oh, we're not done yet. You're next, Ms. Rodriguez. Lisa Rodriguez is described by her colleagues as a creative thinker, a powerhouse, magical, but no magician. Ms. Rod, as she's affectionately known by her students, is a math teacher at BHS. But teaching math is only one of her many things she does for the Brookline High School community. Here are a few of the exemplar statements about her teaching and professionalism shared with the committee. And I just want to say it has been my pleasure, Ms. Rodriguez, to read these. Absolute pleasure. She pushes all her students to do the absolute best they can do and be able to bring out the full potential in every student. She has an amazing ability to bring even the most introverted student out of their shells. Her style of group work works better than any other class I'd ever been in. Lisa is also committed to her own professional growth and development. She never stops growing and consistently makes the most of every PD opportunity she participates in. She communicates her perspective with humor and clarity in a way that is thought-provoking, while taking care not to deny the perspective of others. Lisa builds great relationships with families. She emails home with updates of what students are working on each unit, when assessments are coming up, and when students do something super awesome, as well as when she's concerned about their progress. Each email home comes from a place of wanting to partner with families to better support the students. In her relatively short time here at BHS, Lisa has already become a leader in the school. And in many ways, she is the heart and soul of the math department. That final statement was written by our next speaker, Josh Paris, math coordinator for the Brookline High School. I now welcome Josh to the podium to say a few words about Lisa.
Thank you, Kim. Anthony Meyer, the head of school at Brookline High School, usually is the one who introduces the high school's Caverly Award winner. Anthony has a family event that he needs to attend to today, so he sends his regrets for not being able to join us for this wonderful, wonderful event. But that means I have the honor to present this year's Caverly Award from Brookline High School to Lisa. I also have a few quotes from people that said a few things, so I'm glad we didn't overlap on that. So 15 years ago, Lisa came into her interview for a math teaching position just months away from completing her undergraduate program at Leslie College. The entire interview committee was struck by her energy, excitement, poise, and creativity. But should we take a risk on this 21-year-old with no graduate degree, no teaching experience? Everyone on that committee wholeheartedly agreed that we should, and I'm so glad that we did. If you haven't sat in on one of Lisa's classes, you're missing out. I could describe Lisa's teaching practice as dynamic, vibrant, compelling, playful, mesmerizing, because it is just that. Yet these adjectives fall way short of capturing how Lisa conducts her classes. In fact, I've written multiple evaluation reports over the years for Lisa, and I don't think I've ever been able to accurately describe what goes on in her classes. So let's try this. Here's a comment that Lisa made in class recently to one of her students. "I'm going to stand here and watch you do math. Unfortunately, I like you too much. If you were less likable, I wouldn't bother you." So I wanted to include this comment in Lisa's annual evaluation, but I paused a little bit. I'm never quite sure who actually reads our evaluations, and I was wondering what they would make of that. The words are a bit edgy, but when you witness firsthand the sassy and playful way that Lisa interacts with her students, when you hear the smile in her voice when she says things like that, you really understand what she's doing. One former student had this to say about Lisa. "Ms. Rodriguez is the only Latinx teacher that I've had at Brookline High School. It has been so nice to bond with her over not knowing Spanish as well as we should. She's like one of my tias from back in Colombia. Not as strict as a parent, more fun and totally supportive. She has made a real impact on my life." Over the past 15 years, it has been wonderful to witness Lisa's journey really into adulthood, watching her grow into the departmental, school, and district leader that she is today. Through my particular lens, the effect that Lisa has had on the identity of the math department, our instructional practices, and the culturally responsive way that we build our classrooms has been profound. Megan Kennedy Justice, co-director of the Calculus Project with Lisa, puts it this way. "As Calculus Project co-leader, Lisa has shown herself to be a creative thinker who has come up with multiple ideas to help the Calculus Project students improve their academic performance. She is also careful and thoughtful in her dealings with colleagues. One of our roles is to provide professional development for math teachers to help them address their biases. In this role, Lisa has shown that she is able to meet fellow teachers where they are and think constructively about how to help them move forward. I could go on, but I think we're more interested in hearing what Lisa has to say than what I do. Before I hand over the mic to you, I just want to share a couple of words from Anthony. I quote, "One of the things I love about you, Lisa, is that I have never seen you scared or intimidated. Moments with students, colleagues, or parents and guardians never seem too big for you." On that note, I can't wait to hear what you have to say right now, though I must admit I am a bit afraid. Colleagues, district leaders, family and friends, I give you this year's Caverly Award winner from the high school, the incomparable Lisa Rodriguez.
Thank you. I am pretty short. Thanks, Josh. Also, thank you for being next to me when I had to use the bathroom, run off and saying you'll stall for time. Really appreciate that in a boss, always having your back, guys. So the only reason I even knew about Brookline High School was that SWS students with Kira, who was last year's winner, came to my high school and my friend and I were running workshops around race and ethnicity at my school. And I just thought, a school that was willing to bring their students to have these tough conversations must be a really cool place to be at. So when it was time to apply for jobs, I saw a position open at BHS for someone who had a master's degree, who had 2 years of teaching experience, and wanted to teach math. So I saw it and thought, I'm fresh on the undergrad. I don't have any years of teaching experience, but I do want to teach math. So Brookline became the first school I applied to. So when they called me for my interview, it was going to be the first teacher interview that I ever went to. So I nervously walked, followed Josh to the math office. He opened the door, and it was boom. I saw 6 strangers' faces in front of me, and I was like, what is going on? When I left the interview, I walked to the T-stop over there in the corner. I picked up the phone and called my boyfriend, and I told him, I had the most wonderful interview experience ever, but I'm not getting that job. As fate would have it, a math teacher was going on a year-long maternity leave, and they needed to hire someone for a year and asked if I would be interested. I immediately said yes, called my sister and told her I was gonna have my first ever teaching job, and it was great because I'll only be there for a leave and then a year from now, bounce. I was so excited, guys, to start my first year at Brookline High School. I would eat my breakfast on the hour and a half bus and train commute to work. I would go teach my 2 freshman geometry classes, my 2 freshman geo honors classes, my freshman tutorial, and my freshman advisory. So I basically had an OLS schedule 10 years before it was even thought of. I would eat my lunch in the math office with the rest of the math department as we spoke to each other about our daily lives, our upcoming trips, planned our Halloween costumes. I met their adorable children, and we just spoke about how much fun it was to work in Brookline. I still remember one of my first observations in my E-block geometry class. I knew Josh was coming because it was announced. So I had my copies printed. This was before Google Drive was a thing. So I just put my paper underneath the document camera and just do the work as the students follow along. And one student just thought it would be a great idea to change into her basketball uniform in the middle of the observation. Literally shoving her arms into the uniform while contorting her body to take off her current clothes. I just hope Josh wouldn't notice the one girl changing in my class of 15 students, but of course he noticed. But the boss man he was, we just laughed about it and focused on the things that went well and the things that I had control over. I asked that student why she decided to change in the middle of class, and she said, well, I noticed Mr. Paris was here, and I thought it would look better for you if I stayed in the classroom versus going to the bathroom. My first year teaching was filled with these all little moments of students army crawling across the room because standing up and walking across would be the bigger class distraction. So boys licking each other's elbows, students dating each other and breaking up and then no longer wanting to see each other's faces, and parents asking me, the 21-year-old me whose dad still made her lunch, advice on how to raise children. But it was watching the chariot races in the quad, getting chicken fingers and fries from the restaurant, laughing while watching moonlighting, and having the department sing happy birthday to me when I turned 22 that made me enjoy Brookline. Towards the end of the first year, I was called into Josh's office where he told me since I was only here to cover maternity leave, according to the budget, there wasn't going to be a spot for me, so I should probably look for another job. At that moment, I didn't care because Brookline was always going to be a pit stop for me. But rather than doing nothing, Josh Paris and Betty Strong, who's my mentor and another Caverly winner, advocated for me. They had Bill Lupini, the superintendent back then, come observe my math class and told him how silly it would be to let a first-year teacher like me go. Well, they actually didn't have to do any of that because a math teacher ended up getting a dean position, so there was a spot for me to return to. So I entered my second year teaching at Brookline with the thought that another year or two won't hurt. I made friends, but didn't get too attached as I kept enjoying some more firsts. The first time having a burger in the quad at the back-to-school teacher meetings. My first time getting into a car accident on the way driving to work in my brother's car. KC, another math teacher, talked me through how to file an insurance claim as we brainstormed what to say to my brother when he saw his car. The answer being no matter what you tell your brother, he's still gonna bring it up 12 years later. It was the first time seeing a turkey, never mind a turkey walking across the quad. The first time having a cup of coffee that my friend Chloe had to make for me because I don't know what to do. Life in the math department was a dream. I remember the nonstop laughing we would do after school. One moment in particular that is permanently ingrained in my mind was when I was with Julia Namey and Christine Shen up in the math office. At one point, I was eating a Snickers bar from the snack drawer while spinning in the chair. This is not my brightest moment, and I see a student, so like, Lil, don't do what I did. And I was spinning in a chair, and I don't remember what Namey was saying, but I remember just laughing so hard that I experienced another first. The first time choking on a candy bar. But don't worry, because Namey did the Heimlich maneuver on me by the second floor water fountain with the assist of Betty Strong, so I was able to breathe again. Despite my mindset at keeping them all at a distance, the teachers at Brookline started to worm their way into my heart. The department started to feel like an extension of family, and the place that I thought I would stay for a short time felt like a good place to be. The first and hopefully only time I got engaged, the department even had a brunch for me. And they bought me a gift for my registry, a bench seat, which in full transparency, guys, I left it in the box where it stayed in the box until a few months ago, where I traded it to my brother-in-law for 2 flans. I grew more confident as a teacher. Eventually, I got to teach more grade levels and learn sophomores were just grumpier freshmen, and juniors were just little balls of stress. I wanted my students to feel just as loved as I felt in Brookline, and by observing my colleagues, I learned how to make my classroom feel like a community. And while I was a math teacher, I found myself teaching more than that. I remember in my Trigus class, my student dropped her sandwich on the floor, and she picked it up and blew on it and took a bite. And I yelled at her. I was like, do not eat that. Don't you know how germs are spread? You eat it, you get sick. Then I get sick. Then the class is sick. And then the whole school is sick. Haven't you seen the Netflix documentary Explained? They didn't. So instead of just doing math, we watched the 15-minute episode as a class and learned more about epidemics, where they came from, and how they spread. And after the end of that documentary, I told the class, this is why we don't eat off the floor. Because germs are scary. But don't worry, guys. It's not like we're ever going to have to worry about epidemic or pandemic. Just a few weeks later, to March of 2020, when school became very different. We returned to school doing this weird hybrid thing where I taught some students in front of me in person, but the other half on the computer at the same time. We had to learn a bunch of new technology in a short period of time. There were new rules, new policies that I couldn't keep track of, and the place that once felt so comfortable now felt tense. Brookline started to feel a little bit different. A school that once felt so united started to feel distant and unknown. Stress was running rampant as colleagues worried about elderly parents, about passing COVID to their children. And around this time, I started to feel sick. I started to experience headaches, vertigo, and nausea, and I was worried that I had COVID. I did not have COVID. I was pregnant with my first child. Being pregnant during a hybrid year was kind of nice. When I was experiencing morning sickness, I was able to stay home in Zoom and freely puke in my own toilet while my co-teacher taught in person. I was able to get free food from the cafeteria because they thought I was still a student. As my pregnancy progressed, students had put empty chairs near their tables so I can sit during group work, and they would bring me snacks. And some students even crocheted little gifts for my baby. In 2021, I had my first child, Camila, and I remember looking at her for the first time and thinking, wow, I did all that work and she looks just like my husband. This is why I don't like group projects. And she still does. After using all the paid time that I could and a few days of unpaid time, I returned to work a little more than 2 months after I gave birth. I would teach my students, was often tired, hungry, and irritable, my diet just being coffee. The only exercise I would get was running from the first floor to the third floor maternity room to pump between classes. I attended meetings, would change curriculum, have morning and after-school office hours, and the occasional Saturday study session to make sure my students were getting what they needed. And while my students were learning, feeling loved and respected, for the first time, I felt myself becoming angry and resentful at having to be a teacher at Brookline. All the small things that brought me so much joy in this district seemed to be gone. There were no more chariot races in the quad, no more pep rallies. No more snare drums at basketball games, no school-wide end-of-year holiday parties. Instead, I had spotty Wi-Fi, a classroom constantly being flooded with water, a teacher strike, a building always under construction, and close friends that once were just a room away moved to a totally different building that I would never see. I missed the community, the walking into anyone's classrooms for chats. I missed the staff breakfasts. I missed my friends that were in OLS. I missed all of us having lunch together, the snacks in the department, the after-school hangouts. Work felt long. And while I made sure to do my best teaching in the classroom, I didn't know for how much longer I would do it. I would pray not only for my students, but for me to win the lottery and for my friends and I to get through the day. And for the first time in a long time, I wondered if Brookline was actually the place for me. It took a lot of time, but I came to a realization that just because Brookline was changing, I didn't need it to change me in a way that made me bitter or discouraged. I needed to be more intentional with my energy, to carve out space during the day to breathe, reflect, regroup, and find me. It was in these moments that I remembered that even though each of us were in our own classroom, we were doing more than just teaching. We were doing life together. We were all experiencing our own first, sharing the laughter and tears, growing not just as educators, but as people. As Brookline adjusted to find its new culture, we all started to reach out to each other again. And it was in these moments that it allowed me to reset. It was moments where I can grab breakfast with my breakfast crew at the school restaurant and chat with teachers that I haven't from other departments. It was going to legislature and meeting new teachers that I haven't seen before. It was the Friday staff breakfasts happening again where you could watch Hal cook pancakes and Anthony forget to cut the ham. It was the day ofs where I too learned more about being a better human. It was the highly efficient collaboration within our department that allowed me to step back from not always having to be in create mode and have more time to focus and reconnect, not just with my students, but with my family. It was my pre-calc honors team. It was having dinner parties at colleagues' house, first Fridays, and play dates. It was the teachers in the summer calculus project who gave up their time for little pay. It was the calculus project field day and watching students hit their peer leaders with water balloons. It was KJ baking my daughter cookies to eat. It was all these things and more that helped me to remember that although it isn't always perfect, Brookline's math department is still and forever will be my second home. So I want to thank the math department, the department that is always learning, bickering and laughing like siblings, who continue to push towards racial equity by having tough conversations, for basically tricking me into staying at this school and nominating me for an award and making me have to write a speech. I am a good teacher because of all of you, because you guys make up the best and most supportive department. Thank you.
Well done, Lisa.
I want to thank all of our educators. You teach. Oh, come on up.
Look at this face.
Okay, Nelson, stand up. We want to see the face. Is it? I don't know, Lisa. I think your group project looks pretty awesome to me. Just saying. Brookline educators, you teach, you mentor, you inspire our children. The Brookline community appreciates and values all of you. Thank you. And please join us for a reception. Thank you all for coming to Celebrating Teachers. I just want to remind everyone that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. Please reach out to your favorite educator and let them know that you appreciate them. You've heard from both of our speakers talk about the hard work they do. And also join us on our website for Appreciating Teachers. If you would like to honor a teacher, there are many ways that you can support the Brookline educators. Thank you all and have a great week. Our reception is behind you near the stairs. Thank you for coming.